When I lifted the kitchen floor last week, I finally thought I would see what I was actually dealing with. Every time I looked underneath this house, I'd find something else. Another layer, another clue, another reason why this house ended up the way it did. Week 12 wasn't really about removing more timber, it was about understanding why this house had become the way it had. Hi everyone, my name's Ian. I'm renovating an old station master's house down in the south of Scotland. I bought the house last September and I've been running a YouTube channel since the start of this year. I'm still slowly working my way through my season 1, so if you're enjoying the videos, hit subscribe and head over to the channel to see the rest. Alright, let's go. I remember when I was young, my dad would sometimes have to go underneath the floor of our house to do something. I honestly cannot remember what, but what stuck with me was watching him open a hatch underneath the stairs, drop his feet down, then his chest, and then he would disappear. I would walk on the floor above him, listening to him crawl from room to room. He would bang and he would knock. I would try to guess where he was. It was like a game. I remember thinking how cool it was to be underneath the floor. Able to move from room to room, underneath walls, under closed doors. With this in mind, when the kitchen floor came up, I was pretty excited to get underneath my own house and start to crawl from room to room. The idea of crawling underneath these joists just wasn't going to happen. Not to mention the fact that there wasn't anywhere to go. I removed the joists in the centre that were shorter because of the hearth. I smashed up the rest of the brick hearth foundation and got that bagged up. Once there was some space cleared in the centre of the room, I was able to lie down on the floor and actually look underneath the joists. There was no space and there was nowhere to go. I think back to the house that I grew up in. I think back to my dad going from room to room, easily moving underneath the walls, underneath the doors. And my dad was able to go under the floor in one place and reach every corner of the crawl space under the house. As I lay on the floor and looked from corner to corner, the closer it got to the kitchen window, the damper the soil was. This was where the gutter had been leaking, probably for years, right onto a garden bed outside the kitchen window. All the moisture from outside was just leaching under the ground, under the wall, and into the kitchen. As I was removing more joists and more rubbish, something in the corner made me stop. 4-inch lead soil pipe. It had been capped, but it had just been left in place. As I continued to remove more and more from underneath the floor, I kept sweeping, but the ground felt extremely hard. It felt like there had been cement just poured straight over the floor. As I looked closer and started to figure out what was going on, I think that what had happened is over the decades of the rubble and plaster and crap falling underneath the floor, combine that with some cement dust and the dampness and moisture underneath the floor, it had set and it was a hard, solid finish on the top. As I kept digging up to try and smooth the ground over and kept sweeping up, that's when I found what seemed to be like a pit. The more I dug, the more I would find lumps of charcoal. As I continued to dig, I could clearly see that this was a pit. I was so confused as to what I was actually finding. Why would somebody put charcoal underneath their kitchen floor? That's when I went online and tried to figure out what this was. What I was finding when I looked online is that it was incredibly common to have a little hatch in the corner of the floor. Rather than when emptying the fireplace to take it out or to put it somewhere else, they would simply just sweep it into this hatch underneath the floor. The reason that they did this is it was an easy place to put it without much effort. It also seemed to help the mixture of the soil in the crawl space itself by keeping it aerated and more impervious to dampness. A lump of soil that's quite high in clay content is going to hold more water than if you were chucking charcoal and unburnt bits of coal, which don't necessarily hold as much water. Okay, so let's talk about one of the most important things that I discovered when I lifted the kitchen floor. Let's talk about airflow. The reason that the kitchen was so damp is that the crawl space had no airflow. It was difficult to say where the air was supposed to come from, due to the fact that where the kitchen connected onto the original cottage, the crawl spaces weren't connected. The original stone wall had only been taken down to just below floor level and no more. I wasn't able to go on the crawl space floor in the kitchen and move through to the living room. And the same thing applies from the kitchen to the other extension. There was nowhere to go. There was only a few small gaps for pipes and cables. There was nowhere for the air to really move, and there was nowhere for me to really move. On the front of the house are crawl space air bricks. These are on the front of the house, and so therefore there should be the air bricks on the back of the house, and the whole crawl space is connected. The air enters the air bricks at one side, it's supposed to move unobstructed through the whole crawl space and exit out the other side. Any moisture rising up off the crawl space will get carried away by the airflow as it moves through. I know that the conservatory and the living room crawl space are connected, as if you'll remember from an episode a few weeks ago, I was stood in the living room and I could feel the breeze coming up from the gaps underneath the floor. So the air bricks on the front of the house were working as they should. So then when I go back to the kitchen and I look at the crawl space, I'm able to see the direction that the air is supposed to be coming in, except it's blocked. But then when I look around the kitchen crawl space floor, there isn't really anywhere for this air to move, even if it did get into the room. There is one air brick vent in the kitchen, in the corner. But again, that air vent isn't actually going to be doing anything unless there's a flow of air through. And so if there's no airflow through the crawl space to carry away the moisture that's rising up from the ground, which explains why a lot of the joist ends and then the timber wall plate that the joist sat on were all rotting and crumbling away. It had been decades of moisture having nowhere to go. I knew that this would be something that I needed to fix, and it also started to make me wonder, were the rest of the crawl spaces connected as they should be? This is when I started joining the dots and was understanding why everything was rotting. It also gave me a perfect example for dampness mixed with no airflow. Maybe this house wasn't damp because it was old. Maybe it was damp because it just couldn't breathe. Alright, so back into the kitchen and let's look at another system. After I discovered the 4-inch capped pipe in the corner of the kitchen, I knew I'd need to do a little bit more investigating. It was quite easy to tell that this was lead. But what really surprised me and shocked me, which was right next to it, I hadn't necessarily noticed or realised, but the incoming water feed was also lead. At this point in time, it made my stomach sink. I didn't really realise that lead pipes were incredibly common. Unfortunately, it did change my plans for what would be happening with the kitchen. I thought I would get the kitchen floor up, fix the issues that I could fix, insulate and replace the floor. But now I knew I'd need to dig a trench, buy a big length of pipe, get Scottish Water to come out and connect it. I knew that this wasn't going to be quick. It wasn't just another pipe, it wasn't something that I could just ignore. I knew eventually I would have to change this whole system, and I didn't see that as a small job. So as I sat in the kitchen, I started to connect the dots. I knew the cement render was trapping any moisture that managed to find its way in. I knew the crawl spaces weren't working as they're supposed to work. There was no airflow. The trapped moisture will rot the timber. All the rubble, the insulation and the rubbish that was underneath the kitchen floor would have been holding moisture, making things worse. I knew that having a high moisture content in the timber would cause woodworm infestations, and I knew that a mixture of rot and woodworm would weaken the timber to a point where it may become structurally compromised. As I sat and pondered over all the different problems with the house, that's when I started to realise that none of these problems did or could have existed on their own. All of these problems were connected. As I sat and I thought about the problems, I also thought about the solutions, and I thought about the bigger picture. I thought about the systems that I would eventually be putting into this house. Heating. What did I want my heating to look like? Did I really want radiators? Did I want underfloor heating? What about a forced air system? This house has been damp for decades. I live in a damp country. Moisture and dampness is a huge issue for buildings, particularly in Scotland, as it's quite a damp place to live. Could a forced air system help keep the house dry? Would it be worth it to do a whole house ventilation system? I thought about water filtration. After looking into lead pipes, I discovered they were incredibly common, and how water that is deemed safe might still have particulates of things that aren't safe in it. I knew I would need to replace the lead pipe, but my small amount of research into water filtration also told me that even when it's been replaced, I'm still better to have a whole house water filtration system. At this point in time, I was only 3 months in, very much still in the thick of it, but the dream and the vision for the house that I wanted to build was becoming easier and easier to see. Looking underneath the kitchen floor didn't just change how I looked at the kitchen, it changed how I thought about the whole house. I realised that old houses rarely suffer from one big problem. They usually suffer from dozens and dozens of smaller problems, all quietly working together to slowly destroy your home. Understanding that felt like the first real step to fix these problems properly. Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.